Welcome back to MFO, everybody. It's unboxing time. Tackle Warehouse. Got some stuff here that I want to show you. And guys, what we're going to be talking about today is literally one of the hottest baits for 2026. This thing is going to be responsible for a lot of paychecks. And it's going to be responsible for a lot of paychecks in 2026. I'm not willing to say that it's going to continue to be responsible for paychecks as the years go by. But what I'm talking about is that baby right there. That's the new dice bait called the Uni from Gary Yamamoto from Yamamoto Baits, and we're going to talk about it and basically the dice bait category. Like I said, these baits are catching fish, they're cashing checks. I want to talk to you a little bit about how to rig them. I want to talk to you a little bit about why they are so effective and why they are catching so many dang fish, and whether or not they're going to continue to catch fish in the future. We'll be back right after this. Welcome back to Mark Fisher Outdoors, everybody. I'm Mark Fisher. Yeah, we're talking about dice baits. So this is the Uni right there. Look at that. Now, a couple of things about the Uni, and there's some other baits, the Kyoki and things like that. These are not made like the Berkeley baits and the G-Crack baits that have strands. These are actually molded in. So you can see that one of the biggest downfalls I had, I think I did an episode with Bill. We were out on the lake and we were throwing a Berkeley bait and the bluegill kept pulling the strands out. We had naked dice, within a half hour because the bluegill were just pulling the strands out. These strands are more durable, so they're not going to get pulled off as much. The other thing, if you look closely, see how at the end of the strand, it's a little wider? That really adds to the undulating effect as it's in the water. We're going to put these in the pool when we get a chance and show you how they actually look. But the reality is that these baits really look tantalizing when they're in the water. But speaking of tantalizing, why are dice baits so dang effective right now? Well, my opinion is that the fish have not gotten acclimated to what these things are. They have not, and I'm not going to use the word learn because, again, I don't want to humanize bass in that I think their brain has that learning, but they do adapt. And they adapt to nature and they adapt to their surroundings. When they come in contact with something time and time again and they end up taking boat rides and getting hooked and things like that, they adapt and shy away from those kinds of objects, okay? And I don't think they've seen these enough to adapt yet. And so as these become used more and more and more, will fish go, you know what, the last time I ate that thing, I took a boat ride? I don't know that they're going to continue because they do have such a unique shape and look in the water. But right now, fish are, this bait is actually as effective, if not more effective, when you're using forward facing than a minnow. I mean, guys are throwing these and getting bit 2-to-1 versus throwing a minnow and where they're shying away from it because, again, fish are adapting and kind of figuring that, nope, that's not something that I want to hit, but they are hitting this. So this is it. Let's talk a little bit about how I like to rig them because, quite honestly, there are two approaches that I use when I'm rigging a fuzzy dice. And that is, number one, on a drop shot. I really like the way it works on a drop shot. The other is using, I prefer to just take a standard number 2 drop shot hook or wacky rig hook. That, like I said, they've got a little pin in here, and so they've pre-made a hole, and you can just feed your hook like that, and it's right there on your hook, and you've got the point right there, okay? If you use a hook that maybe has a little bit of a weight on it, that's exactly what you want to do right there, okay? So that's if you're kind of using forward facing or kind of throwing it out. Otherwise, I like to put it on, like I said, a drop shot. But let's talk a little bit more about, and again, these baits are from Yamamoto Baits, and let's talk about that whole issue of, bass adapting to baits. I was thinking about this. Why hasn't a bass adapted to a Senko? A Senko is a very unique fall, and I don't see bass shying away from Senkos, especially like a wacky rig Senko. And my answer to that is, it's because I think that a natural worm falling, through the water column that got dropped on the top and is falling, it very much looks like a Senko. And so a bass isn't going to adapt if it eats this and hey, it works. That looks like a falling worm, and I ate it, and wow, that was delicious. Go eat another one. Wow, that was great. Eat another one. Oh, that was a Senko, and I got hooked. Well, yeah, you got hooked, but the reality is that 9 out of 10 times when that fish is going to eat it, it's getting a worm. So it's not adapting. On the same token, and again, I'm just using an example. If a chatterbait goes by and it has a specific look to it that isn't the same as other things, that fish may adapt and go, I'm not going to react to that vibration or that look or whatever. And so, and that's why we see things like, for example, rattle traps, lipless crankbaits changing or evolving. One knockers, and then you've got silent, and then you've got multiple rattles. As they become accustomed, different sounds, different vibrations, then don't seem like the other ones, and so they trigger strikes again. That's my opinion on this. I think that this bait ultimately may become kind of a bait that fish look at. It's very, very unique. And as fish adapt to it, they may not bite it. But I'm telling you what, guys, right now, it's new, and fish are eating it like crazy. We'll have to see years from now whether it remains as dominant as it is. But guys, these things are expensive, and there's a ton of different, brands out there. Like I said, the Berkley ones, I really like them. They catch fish, but boy, they pull the strands out. In fact, we're going to do an episode coming up here real quick with my buddy Bill Felton, and he's going to show us how to make our own fuzzy dice. So you'll want to stick around when we come up with that one. Guys, I appreciate you tuning in. Send me your comments on this. Have you been fishing any kind of fuzzy dice? What's your brand that you like to use? And have you been having some success with it? Guys, I appreciate you tuning in, and we will see you again tomorrow for another episode of Mark Fisher Outdoors. Take care, everybody.